Why did games look cooler in the 2000s? Here we go.
If you grew up in the 2000s, you probably remember when games felt cooler. When midnight releases could—
Yo, they got Shadow the Hedgehog to intro this video. This video is going to be insane. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Could shut down Times Square. When everything had attitude. It wasn't an accident, and it isn't just nostalgia. They had something in common that—
Is it just me, or did like the water in older video games look cooler and tastier than in newer video games? Do you guys agree?
modern titles lost. There was a formula that made these games legendary.
Dude, oh my god, I've literally played 4 of these games. I've played Modern Warfare, I've played Resident Evil, I've played Halo 3, I've played San Andreas. This video is going to be goated.
A secret sauce. They all used the same 5 ingredients, and the first was style.
Okay, let's hear it. The style of video games.
Remember when skateboarding games weren't afraid to look like skateboarding games? It's no secret that a lot of modern releases feel art directionless, almost like they're afraid to have their own personality or even stay consistent with their old one.
I agree with this. Game nowadays look all the same. I agree with that statement. So many games nowadays are just trying to be as realistic as possible.
There was a time when you could identify a game just by looking at the water. Now everyone renders it through the same engine.
That's so
true.
true.
The point is, certain studios have turned decades of progress and billions of dollars into uglier games, and the most heinous is Pokemon. Every few years they make a new one, and with it comes an onslaught of criticism. This is especially true for Legend ZA, which has been compared to and completely mocked by Sonic the Hedgehog for the PlayStation 3.
Okay, the Sonic hate sucks, but I have to agree with them here. Problem with Pokemon is that Pokemon is a billion-dollar company, and for some reason, all the latest games that they have brought out, the latest one especially, Pokemon ZA, is like the worst looking game possible. How are you a billion-dollar company, but you can't make a game that runs a stable 60 FPS, or even looks nice for that matter?
Most point to the flat PNGs duct taped to the side of buildings, and the city's repetitive layout. It gets even more complicated when you remember that's the only location in the game. That's right, the hunt begins and ends in government-sanctioned wild zones. They already do this in real life. We've even got PvP battle zones at shopping centers and train stations.
I would never scout for Pokemon, by the way, chat. Never.
Pokemon has never been known for its graphics, but there's clearly something going on here. Comparatively, their best titles from the 2000s were simple but cohesive. Everything from the environments to the sprites was vibrant and heavily stylized. More importantly, the simplicity made sense. The games looked complete within the limits of their hardware because the art direction embraced those limits.
True.
On the other hand, the art direction for the new games isn't consistent or polished enough to be passable within the medium. 3D has a much higher ceiling and expectations are still through the roof.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I feel like the newer Pokemon games just look like tech demos.
Ended up in this awkward limbo where they're taking the worst from both worlds. The Pokemon are dulled down to look more realistic, but they still freeze and dissolve instead of flying away. I feel like it'd be infinitely better to pick a lane and stick to it, even at the cost of realism. That being said, the game is surprisingly fun, and I'll say the same for the new Skate title, which has faced even more outrage online.
Okay, the game is surprisingly fun. That's funny because I asked Cam, should I buy Pokemon ZA? And Cam is my Pokemon guy. So I asked him, should I get ZA? And he just said absolutely not.
When the original dropped in 2007, it presented skateboarding through a gritty documentary-style lens. They wanted the games to feel like a street part filmed with a shaky handheld camera. Sure enough, combined with the presence of real-life pros and a grounded storyline, it captured skateboarding culture in a way that its competitors couldn't. The next 2 titles kept this identity alive, or at least occasionally alluded to it. They knew what they were and they did it well. However, in 2025, we got this. Sanitized, corporate, devoid of almost any reference.
Oh, this is the new Skate game.
Of course, there's an item shop, and if you pay $70 for the Founders version, you get 3 in-game t-shirts. I've bought more in real life for less money. I'm sure you're sick of hearing about the Fortnite effect, but it really looks like Fortnite. The worst thing is, it's painfully obvious why they did this. By abandoning the aesthetics and cultural references of the originals, they appeal to a much broader audience. You don't need any prior knowledge to get it. And that's fine, the game is a lot of fun, and it's nice to see more people involved, but it'll never be cool. At least, not in the same way as the earlier entries. Getting a more realistic peek into skateboarding was intriguing, especially if you didn't understand it. They didn't feel soulless because they chose a style and committed to it unapologetically.
True.
This certainly has a style, but it's got fuck all to do with a game called Skate and everything to do with a game called Money. Anyway, style alone doesn't explain
Resident Evil!
why older games felt cooler. There's something studios always miss when remastering games from the 2000s.
I also never played Gears of War, so I can't really give a take here, but...
The atmosphere. It's easily the most important ingredient, and I'll tell you why. For me, it all starts with the environments. In the 2000s, every second title had jungles and temples, tropical beaches, an obligatory snowman with penguins. It placed a focus on exploration and adventure, which was reflected in the heavy hitters at the time. Games like Tomb Raider, Halo, and Far Cry all had you trudging through dense tropical jungles and ruins.
That's true.
But it wasn't just the types of locations that made the atmosphere so strong. It was the variety.
It's the water, man! You know what they need to do in the newer games? They just need to make a newer game, import this water, and boom, you got a cult classic.
Believe it or not, Halo used to have more than one biome. In 3, you were taken through deserts, rainforests, alien ships overrun by the flood. By the end of the game, you really feel like you've gone on a journey, a great journey even. This might be a weird take, but despite its linear structure, it actually feels more open to me than an open world game. With Halo Infinite, you're free to explore everything, but if you just turn around, you'll realize you've already seen it.
That's so true. Halo Infinite, everything looked the same. I barely remember the Halo Infinite campaign.
The scale is smaller. On the other hand, giving us snapshots of diverse biomes and environments makes it feel like we're simply getting glimpses into a much larger universe. The war doesn't just start and end when you log in, but where Halo made war feel endless, Call of Duty made it feel immediate. The earlier titles had an unmistakable atmosphere that left a permanent mark on gaming history. I don't care about how they fumbled it, I think that's pretty clear by now, but I do want to know how they built it to begin with.
I have a feeling I know what he's about to say. He's about to say the old COD campaigns were amazing and the newer ones suck. However, I'll have to disagree on one thing. The Modern Warfare 2019 campaign was so gritty and realistic that it kind of just shook me. I thought that campaign was fantastic.
What made mere menu screens so iconic and missions so memorable? Well, let's go back to 2008. World at War releases as the 5th installment in the franchise. Again, it's set during World War II, only this time you're fighting through the Pacific Theater and Eastern Front. They just happen to be two of the most brutal and dehumanizing battlegrounds of the war. The game immediately reminds you of this, setting a tone that remains for the entire story. You burn down villages, crawl through jungles, wake up in a pile of bodies being picked apart by crows. The atmosphere is dramatic and desperate, and the game fully commits to this. The tone isn't broken by colorful pop-ups, ads, or menus trying to funnel you into their battle royale mode. Like, this is the start screen. It tells you exactly what you're in for, and if you still don't get it, the music does the rest. It's not epic and heroic, it's bleak and haunting. And that's before you translate it. This consistency is why many people credit World at War with the darkest atmosphere in the franchise.
I never even played this game, I'll be honest.
And it's exactly what the modern titles are missing. Atmosphere also comes from aesthetics though, and there's
Shadow the Hedgehog, Resident Evil 4, Halo 2, just bangers. Yes, let's hear about this.
a few that defined the era. If you played a lot of PS2 games, you likely remember horror grunge. Coined by Evan Collins, the term describes a graphic design style that was popular from the late 90s to the early 2000s. Look at Siren, Postal, Fatal Frame, or even Resident Evil. They combined grungy elements and textures with rust orange highlights to create chaotic and disturbing
Dude, I
visuals.
miss this atmosphere.
Again, this was consistent across everything, from the cover art to the menu screens. At no point are you taken out of the experience. The aesthetic was cool because it was almost comically edgy. Things looked a little dirty, diseased. It wasn't trying to be subtle. And neither was the biohazard green aesthetic. Out of all the console giants in the 2000s, Xbox couldn't have picked a better color. The world was obsessed with this radioactive palette, and it's since become synonymous with the era. Mountain Dew, the Xbox loading screen, limited edition Halo console from 2002. You see this green obsession all over older Brother Core edits, where they show old tech, clothing, and energy drinks. I don't know why it was so popular, but as always, it probably had something to do with the Matrix.
Not to LARP or anything, but green has always been my favorite color.
Its use of neon green to represent hacking and futuristic tech was emblematic of what the decade considered cool. Add a layer of glowing toxic sludge and things get even better. Overall, each aesthetic was turned up to 11. They were chaotic, grating. They contributed to the atmosphere of games by giving each one a strong visual identity. And let's be real, this never stopped looking cool, and neither did this. But what happens when a game's atmosphere was built using techniques that don't exist anymore? What if that's the reason these games can never be replicated?
Okay.
We've seen this sort of phenomenon before. Many older games look better on CRT monitors because they soften and blend the edges between pixels.
That is true, and that is one reason why I want to get a CRT TV, just to play my old like Wii or GameCube games.
There's a similar visual illusion happening here too, something you might not have noticed in some of your favorite games. We'll find out what's going on here right after a quick word from today's sponsor. Anyway, all of the games I'm showing here are using the same graphical trick, or illusion. It's a method that practically vanished after the 2000s. If you haven't already guessed, the one thing they have in common is pre-rendered backgrounds. Each is handcrafted and overflowing with details, as if a painting were to come to life. But it wasn't purely an artistic choice. At the time, rendering such detailed environments in-game was out of the question.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with this take. I think in-game rendering like looks better than pre-rendered stuff.
I mean, most FPS games were still hiding their low draw distance with fog, so they had to get creative to show anything but pop-ins and polygons. The solution was a blend of isometric angles and pre-cooked shadows, allowing them to create depth and scale without destroying your PC. Someone sat down and drew or modeled every thatched roof and tree trunk in this scene. It's a level of detail that easily holds up today, and it didn't last for long. By the mid-2000s, real-time rendering had finally found its footing, and the AAA scene jumped ship the second it became redundant.
His point is that they looked better back then because devs had to like actually like bake in their shadows manually and, you know, mess with textures so that it doesn't take over so many resources on the console or the PC or whatever. And nowadays that doesn't really matter because everything is done on the computer and consoles and PCs can handle it. I guess in a way it just means devs had to put more time and care into the games.
If you're looking for modern games with backgrounds that look anything like this, you'll only really find them amongst indie developers. Games like Pillars of Eternity. Pre-rendered backgrounds are far from the worst fatality in the AAA space though. Lately, I've seen a wave of videos pointing out how age-old features are being quietly cut under our noses. Or worse, repackaged and marketed as new developments. Kind of like how split screen became a genre of game and not just the industry standard.
Can you talk about that? Can you talk about why split screen is dead? You know what pissed me off? I loved playing Halo with my brothers. And I remember buying Halo 5 and getting excited to play Halo 5 with my brothers. I put the disc in my Xbox and guess what? Halo 5, no split screen. You know what? Till this day, my brothers and I still will hop on the Xbox on Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 2 and play zombie split screen together. I miss going to a friend's house, hopping on their couch, grabbing a GameCube controller or a Wii controller and just playing split screen games together. I wonder what it's like growing up with siblings nowadays, because I grew up with two brothers and the only time we were allowed to play video games, we had a short window to play them, and it was basically not a question. Like we had to play a co-op game or like split screen games to share the time.
My favorite bonus feature these days is basic optimization. In the 2000s, they had this down to a T. Ratchet & Clank was getting 60 FPS on the PlayStation 2. That's double what Pokemon was getting 2 decades later.
That's insane.
Yes, it's open world and almost looks better, but when you can't hit such basic benchmarks, perhaps it's time to look back and take notes.
I'd rather have a shittier looking Pokemon game that actually runs fine and it's actually fun to play than a game that's trying to look realistic.
Maybe lean into the dark arts they used to use to pull it off. Get some fog in there if you have to. Or better yet, focus on crafting smaller, denser environments, not empty pixelated expanses. Looking closer at
Okay, I guess his take makes sense now. Because we don't use that magic to like lower the resource dependency on certain games, we have games that just like run worse. I guess that makes sense because we're depending so much on the in-game rendering.
Gameplay is even more confusing. It's like as long as the graphics are marginally better, nothing else matters. Problem is, this quest to make games look as realistic as possible is at the cost of features that make them feel alive. Like dynamic destruction. When was the last time you crashed a car and the hood crumpled up or the bumper went flying? It's insane to me that this level of detail is just as novel today as it was in the 2000s. Compare Battlefield Bad Company 2 to Battlefield 6. Sure, the latter looks better, but the way buildings collapse and crumble in Bad Company holds up a little too well. It doesn't feel like a 15-year difference. Even coding AI is somehow a Herculean task for modern studios. How can any AAA title ship with enemies that don't seek cover or pathfind properly?
That's a good point. That's a really good point, actually.
Flood first appeared in Halo CE, they weren't scary because each tentacle was rendered in 4K. It was because they were inescapable. They'd traverse walls, doorways, and even dead bodies to get to you. Simply walking behind an object or leaving the area didn't guarantee survival. This isn't the industry standard, and it takes the edge off a lot of encounters in, say, horror games. Who cares how terrifying someone looks if they're traversally challenged? Keep in mind, I'm not suggesting these features were always implemented seamlessly in the 2000s. That isn't the point. The point is, they were there. They were ambitious. The industry felt more exciting because every year we got new mechanics, ideas, possibilities. Our only mistake was thinking they'd stick around.
I think the point he's making is that the mechanics back then felt new, and today, because we're reusing these mechanics, it just feels old and bland. I think he's asking for more, which is tough to ask for.
So far, we've covered style, atmosphere, and lost features. However, we still haven't covered the most unhinged part of 2000's games: the advertising. And I'm not just talking about the bizarre brand deals and campaigns of the 2000s. After all, promotion begins when you first lay eyes on a game. Developers have a single rectangle to sell you the world, and they don't make them like they used to. When I think of iconic box art, almost every example that jumps to mind is from the 2000s. The Halo trilogy, Kingdom Hearts, the Xbox and PlayStation 2 had legendary lineups. Just look at the distressed fonts and visuals of the Silent Hill games. They create this ominous vibe that perfectly captures the experience of playing them. Designers were obsessed with dark blues, chrome, and edgy typography. Of course, we still get some clean box art, but it doesn't have the same raw energy as it used to. It also doesn't matter as much anymore. When was the last time you went to an EB Games with a gift card and bought a physical copy? The
EB Games? This guy's Canadian.
marketplace used to be shelves. Cover art needed to compete for your attention. If something was placed next to Halo 2, it was practically invisible. Today, however, everything's digital and box art is much less likely to sway your purchase.
That's so true, man. Everything's digital today, and this reminds me of Sony and what they're doing. We're ending disc production in 2020. This is 2028, chat, and they haven't gone back on their word yet. I think they're for real.
What can still influence it is brand deals. Now, I dug through the 2000s and found what I believe to be the strangest and most legendary partnerships in gaming history. At number 5, we have EverQuest x Pizza Hut. And this was a genuinely groundbreaking idea. Typing
I've never heard of this game before, I'm sorry.
/pizza in chat would open up a web portal where you could order one for real. Honestly, I'm surprised we don't see this.
That's pretty
more
cool.
often. It seems like a no-brainer, but to my knowledge, games haven't done something like this for a long time. Number 4 is one of many bangers from Burger King. Yes, this did drop in '99, but I have to mention the gold Pokemon cards. They came with a certificate of authenticity and did have a thin layer of gold plating.
Dude, gold Pokemon cards at Burger King? Damn, I would have been at Burger King every single day, dude. That's actually pretty sick.
Coming in third is a Halo 3 two-piece. Literally. Legend has it, less than 100 of these pinstriped suits were awarded to employees who sold the most pre-orders.
That's actually insane. That's so sick.
I don't know if it counts as a tie-in though, so I'm also giving third place to the Halo 3 Pontiac. Its
Bro, imagine buying a car just because it was branded with Halo.
whereabouts and even existence is somewhat dubious, but there's enough evidence to suggest it's probably out there. If you have any idea where this ended up, please reach out to me on Instagram. Either way, number 2 has to be the one and only Nike Bionicles. Technically not a
That is sick. Bionicles weren't a video game though.
gaming collab, but there were Bionicle games at the time, so it's here anyway. While there are a couple floating around on eBay, I can almost guarantee they'd disintegrate after minutes of wear. And that's why first place is a tie between the Halo 3 Burger King Cup and Mountain Dew.
It has to be Halo. I remember seeing the Halo 3 Mountain Dew and Burger King cups. I remember this.
Combining these would be like drinking from the Holy Grail. Each sip would grant you another day in 2007. You know what else used to be peak? Collector's editions. You couldn't get away with just slapping together some digital bonuses. We got night vision goggles, helmets. Black Ops had a prestige edition that came with a working RCXD.
Nowadays, I feel like companies don't even care about collector's editions. Nowadays, when it comes to collector's editions, they just give you like in-game stuff, like in-game costumes, in-game access. Like even the $100 GTA 6 edition, it gives you access to certain locations that you don't get in the base game. That's so dumb. Old GTA 5 came with a map of the game.
Only had about 50% of the original's functionality, but come on, studios really understood their fan base. They knew what people wanted. Comparatively, many modern collector's editions don't even bother including a physical copy. Why make a nice steelbook case if it holds nothing but a code and memories of simpler times? In the 2000s, all of these elements fused together to create the perfect blend of marketing herbs and spices. The ads, collaborations, collector's editions. Their targeted and chaotic energy helped make game launches feel like events.
I think the reason why the marketing doesn't feel the same anymore is because back then gaming was still kind of emerging, and I felt like the devs and the people working on the games were just like, they were really trying to make products that felt special. Nowadays, it's just nostalgia bait or trying to get the best buck possible and to save money wherever they can. So they're not really going all in. Imagine Capcom did something for Resident Evil 9, it would have been sick. I mean, I feel like you still get cool marketing campaigns, but it's just not widely seen as much anymore.
You don't have to believe me, just go check out what midnight releases used to look like. The only game I could see getting close is GTA 6.
Whoa.
With that being said, I reckon I've found the last ingredient.
You know, he said the only game that'll come close is GTA 6, except GTA 6 is going to be all digital. So there is no midnight release for GTA 6.
When talking about why older games looked and felt cooler, there's one subject I rarely see people discuss. It's not surprising because it has nothing to do with graphics, gameplay, music, or pricing. In fact, a lot of people watching this might not remember it at all. You see, the internet has significantly changed how we experience video games. We know all about them years before they're even announced. Lore is explained in hour-long iceberg videos, and there's Easter egg guides on day one. This is all well and good, but it made me realize how much mystery games used to have.
That's so true. Back in the day, I would have to get like cheat code books or tips and tricks books from the Scholastic Book Fair to know what was in my games. Nowadays, you can just Google everything. And it kind of does take away from the video games, because when you know everything that's going to be in the game already, it takes away from the mystery of it. Games felt bigger back then because you didn't know what was in there.
There's certain knowledge that you could only get from magazines, forums, or word of mouth. And in my opinion, there was a lot of value in that. There's something to be said about the importance of not knowing how to do something or even how to feel about it. Any puzzle or minor frustration now can be solved in 30 seconds by a YouTube short. You aren't encouraged to explore and figure stuff out yourself. Things are pretty black and white now too, particularly when discussing the quality of a new release. You'll see two sides immediately form and dominate public opinion. Large commentary channels pick up on this and get out a 10-minute video called "The Blank Situation is Crazy." Blank is never coming back from this. It's a green light for everyone who hasn't bought the game to start roasting anyone that has. Then there's the opposite end of the spectrum with people vehemently defending billion-dollar companies. I guess what I'm trying to say is we've lost that middle ground, that space between knowing everything and knowing nothing. It was a pretty cool place to be because...
Yeah, it is a blessing and a curse to like know everything about the game. It's cool, but it takes away from the mystery and like hidden features of the game. Like back then, you would like run into something in the game and it'd be like, I remember playing Super Smash Bros. Melee back in the day, and like I accidentally triggered the Luigi cutscene to like fight him in a game, and I was like, holy crap, you can unlock Luigi in this game? Nowadays, for like when you're playing a new game, the first thing you do is like, how do I unlock all the characters? And then you look at the requirements, and then you know it's gonna happen.
It also allowed rumors and legends to exist. Stuff like Mew under the truck, or Luigi in Mario 64. They weren't as easily disproven because you didn't have YouTubers and data miners constantly combing through files for evidence.
That's so true, because I remember seeing a freaking leak for Sonic the Hedgehog in Melee, and I believed that shit as a kid. I believed it. But it is good that we have data miners, because then you wouldn't believe the fake stuff. So it's like a double-edged sword. The GTA Bigfoot shit was so cool, so good.
My favorite was always the San Andreas Bigfoot. There were hundreds of...
Looter! Lunar! Oh my god! Lunar! What the frick?
Favorite was always the San Andreas Bigfoot. There were hundreds of videos of alleged sightings, for the most part being nothing more than a couple pixels and the X-Files theme. Surprisingly, a bunch of people still swear by its existence. I found like 20 different people while researching that claim to have either seen, killed, or been killed by the San An Sasquatch. If you've had a similar experience in a game before and encountered something unexplainable, drop a comment or share it in the Discord. Joining, subscribing, it's all completely free. Anyway, the only thing better than fan theories were the mysteries left by developers themselves. Easter eggs that took years to crack or remain unsolved.
To be fair, some Easter eggs in games still take years to crack, even after getting data mined.
One of the most legendary and longest running are the glyphs in Halo 3 ODST. First discovered by accident, players noticed a series of recurring symbols scattered across the city. Many were invisible under normal conditions, only appearing when activating your visor. This wasn't just pattern recognition and rumors though. The devs confirmed their significance on multiple occasions, hinting at a deeper story. What followed was a decade-long hunt that has only recently slowed down. I won't say much more than that, but Rocket Sloth's coverage is really interesting. Whatever the case.
I was about to mention these glyphs, but no one's been able to figure them out. Still to this day, Clake? Really?
It's clear that gaming has changed a lot over the past few decades, and even the past few years. I do get the sense that things have plateaued, and I think the industry knows this too. Look at how many studios are surviving off nostalgia alone. With 7 Black Ops titles, Call of Duty is almost as bad as EA Sports.
Dude, I really hope Modern Warfare 4 isn't as bad as Black Ops 7, man. I really hope Modern Warfare 4 brings the passion back into Call of Duty. But I know as soon as I open Modern Warfare 4, I'm going to get flooded with Battle Pass notifications.
Halo is looking at yet another remaster of their first game.
And, okay, another hot take. I don't think Halo CE should be getting another remake. It's a second remake, bro. Just give us like Halo 7, bro. Give us a good new Halo. We don't want Halo CE remake. If anything, we wanted a Halo 3 remake.
Making the same thing 3 times might just be their most groundbreaking contribution to modern gaming. That is if you forget about Pokemon. In fairness, there's a lot the industry could take from the past. They could spice up the advertising, commit more to their identity and atmosphere. This doesn't mean endlessly remaking the same games. It means understanding what made them work and bringing that same passion and energy to new releases. To me, it's pretty clear what made 2000's gaming legendary. Developers used hardware limitations to their advantage. Investing time into crafting unique art styles,
and it was passion.
Advertising and aesthetics were actually targeted towards the people that played the games. And when you really tear it down to its finest parts, that's exactly why games looked cooler in the 2000s.
That's true. W Video. I agree with a lot of what he said, and I think the last like modern game that I played that felt like a 2000s game was Elden Ring. Yeah, newer games, I'm not saying newer games are bad. They don't feel like they have as much passion as older games did. But yeah, good video. I enjoyed it. YouTube, if you guys enjoyed, please subscribe.